In the late 1800s, in a city most Americans barely noticed, something happened that would quietly reshape the way the world drinks, celebrates, and remembers. It wasn't born in a gleaming boardroom. It wasn't launched with a billion-dollar campaign. It started in a small Atlanta pharmacy, where a pharmacist mixed ingredients in a back room, chasing relief, profit, or maybe even a miracle. And yet, out of that uncertainty came a drink that would outlast empires, survive wars, outmaneuver competitors, and become one of the most valuable brands in human history. This is the story of Coca Cola, not the polished version on a billboard, but the raw human story underneath. The ambition, the reinventions, the near disasters, the moments when everything could have vanished and didn't. If you think Coca-Cola was simply a soda, you're about to see why this brand became a cultural force, one that shaped advertising, global trade, and even the way America saw itself. So stay with me, because the real story isn't just sweet, it's intense, it's emotional, and it changed the world. Atlanta in 1886 was a city on the edge of reinvention, scarred by the Civil War, hungry for progress, and crowded with dreamers who believed the future could be built one storefront at a time. In that atmosphere, John Stith Pemberton, a pharmacist and Confederate veteran, was searching for something. Maybe a tonic, maybe a pain reliever, maybe a way to turn his skills into steady income. What he created, often debated, often mythologized, was a sweet carbonated beverage intended to be refreshing and, in the language of the era, invigorating. It wasn't marketed yet as the global symbol we know today. It was local, experimental, fragile. But here's the part people often miss. The early Coca-Cola wasn't guaranteed success. It was one of many tonics and soft drinks competing for attention in a crowded marketplace. The difference wasn't just the formula. It was what came next. Think about that. The most iconic brand on earth began as a small-town experiment. That should make every entrepreneur watching this sit up straight, because greatness doesn't always start loud. Sometimes it starts quietly and then refuses to die. If Pemberton created the spark, Asa Candler built the fire. Candler wasn't a pharmacist chasing a formula. He was a businessman chasing scale. He understood something that many brilliant inventors never grasp. A product is only as powerful as the system behind it. He bought the rights, organized the business, and crucially, treated Coca-Cola not as a local curiosity, but as a brand with national potential. He invested in marketing, consistency, and visibility. He made Coca-Cola feel inevitable. And that's where the story gets emotional, because this is the moment many brands fail. They have a good idea, but they lack the person who can turn it into a movement. Candler wasn't glamorous in the modern sense, but he was relentless. He built trust, repetition, and recognition, three forces that still drive modern marketing. Here's the lesson. Invention gets applause, but execution gets empires. Candler proved that a brand isn't just what you make, it's what you make people believe.
Now comes one of the most important chapters in American business history: bottling. In the early 1900s, Coca-Cola's leadership made a decision that sounded modest at the time, but it was seismic. Instead of keeping the drink mostly behind a counter, they expanded through independent bottling partners. That move created a network, local businesses, local jobs, local pride, while keeping the brand consistent. It was a genius blend of control and scale. Coca-Cola could standardize the experience while letting entrepreneurs do the heavy lifting in towns across America. This is where the brand stopped being a drink in Atlanta and started becoming a national ritual. Picnics, ballparks, family dinners, hot summer afternoons, Coke became part of the soundtrack of everyday life. If you've ever wondered how a brand becomes a habit, this is it. Not just a product, an experience that travels. A bottle in hand becomes a memory in motion.
No empire is built without scars. Coca-Cola's journey includes real controversy, debates about ingredients, health concerns, competition, and the shifting moral landscape of America. In different eras, the brand faced criticism from regulators, activists, competitors, and consumers who questioned what they were really drinking. And then there were the business battles: rival drinks, copycats, shifting tastes, economic downturns, and the constant pressure to stay relevant without losing identity. This is the part of the story that makes it so human. Because Coca Cola didn't win by being perfect, it won by adapting, sometimes painfully, sometimes brilliantly, while holding on to the emotional core that made people love it in the first place. Here's the truth: brands don't die because they're challenged. They die because they stop evolving. Coca Cola's survival is a masterclass in reinvention under pressure.
If you want to understand Coca Cola's dominance, don't just look at the drink, look at the storytelling. In the mid-20th century, Coca Cola became more than a beverage. It became a symbol of togetherness, optimism, and American life. The brand learned to speak in emotions: refreshment, friendship, celebration, comfort. The advertising wasn't just selling sugar and carbonation, it was selling a feeling, an identity people wanted to belong to. And that's why the imagery endured long after the campaigns ended. This is where Coca-Cola crossed a line that most brands never reach. It stopped being a product category and became a cultural reference point. When people say Coke, they're not just naming a drink, they're naming a moment. That's the power move every marketer dreams of, when your brand becomes a language people use to describe joy. Coca-Cola's greatest triumph wasn't just surviving America. It was becoming global without losing its emotional core. As the brand expanded, it faced a delicate challenge. How do you stay consistent while adapting to local tastes, traditions, and expectations? Coca-Cola's story here is a lesson in balance: global branding with local sensitivity, standardized identity with cultural nuance. And that's why you'll see Coca-Cola at celebrations across continents, sometimes in ways that feel uniquely local, yet unmistakably the same brand. That's not an accident. That's strategy fused with emotional intelligence. But global success also brought new scrutiny: questions about influence, health impact, environmental footprint, and corporate responsibility. And once again, Coca-Cola had to evolve, not just to grow, but to remain trusted. Global dominance isn't just about reach, it's about responsibility. And the brands that last are the ones that can hold both at the same time.
It's a drink, yes, but it's also a mirror, reflecting America's ambitions, contradictions, creativity, and hunger for connection. It's a story of a pharmacist's experiment becoming a national ritual, of a businessman turning a local product into a global brand, and of a company constantly rewriting itself to stay relevant in a changing world. And that's the most powerful lesson of all. Great brands aren't built once. They're rebuilt again and again through crisis, reinvention, and courage. Coca-Cola's legacy isn't just in the billions of bottles sold. It's in the memories it created: shared laughter, celebrations, comfort on hard days, and the feeling that somewhere in the world, a cold Coke can still mean this moment matters. If this story moved you, if you love these deep dives into the brands that shaped our lives, then don't click away just yet. Because next, we're taking on another icon that changed the world: McDonald's. From a small restaurant to a global food empire, we'll uncover the strategy, the controversies, and the human story behind the golden arches. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button now and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. The story of McDonald's is coming, and it's going to be unforgettable.